Sup, everyone? It's Matt and
Roy.
exactly ESC United, your favorite Eurovision channel. Welcome to Mattitude, the ESC United live stream where we talk about the best thing in the world. You know it, Eurovision. And what a night, Roy? Huh? What a night?
Yeah, definitely. We've had a lot of shows tonight. I mean, a lot. We had three, but
Yeah.
yeah, it was
One
interesting
just ended.
again.
What are we going to talk about? What shows?
We had, well, the night started off with the Norwegian selection having the third semi-final of, their installment of Melodi Grand Prix.
Mhm.
And simultaneously, we had Lithuania with Pamondon Audio, the semi-final. And last but not least, we had France decide their song for Eurovision 2021. And we've got a new
Yes, and
song.
France ran a little over, therefore this live stream has had to also kick off a little later because we're not going to talk while the results are not in yet. But we got so much to talk about, as Roy pointed out. We got like Lithuania and Norway just like the past couple of weeks simultaneously running. So all of you probably in the chat, just like I and myself and Roy, were just like flip a little, see flip back and forth. It worked surprisingly well. It seemed as when Norway was performing, Lithuania was on some kind of clip and vice versa. So that worked out pretty well today. But before we even get into all of this, I just want to welcome everyone in the chat. So thank you for joining, and how's we're going to talk about the results, and then we're going to answer your question as well. Please bear with me. So, or us, I should say. But the big news is we got song number 3 chosen tonight for the Eurovision Song Contest 2021. As we all know, we already have Albania, at least the current version. I'm sure there will be a revamp, and Israel, and now we're adding France to the lineup, and so much to talk about. And Roy, do you speak any French?
Um, I studied it in high school, but all of the knowledge is basically gone.
Okay, can you
So
read the name of
I
the
know a
selection
few
process
words.
for me?
C'est vous qui décidez.
See, there you go. So that's the name of the show that they, in previous years, they had, oh, like for the previous years, for 2 years, they had Destination Eurovision, then they had an internal selection last year, and then this year they tried this new concept, and we're 12 songs, we're battling it out, internally selected, and the 12 songs performed, and then the televoters got to vote, and 7 of these songs would then move on to the next round, and then the juries out of the 5 remaining songs would then pick an 8th super finalists, or whatever you want to call it. Second round, I guess. So the 7 songs were chosen, then the juries, and then the televoters and the juries got to vote again. And it was once again 50-50 in terms of votes. There's some interesting changes we saw in the results. But we're going to talk about that in just a moment. Let's go for this real quick here. And anyone who has questions and comments in regard to the French selection at ESC United in the chat. So, what was your overall opinion about the show, Roy?
To be honest, it was so chaotic.
Chaotic
Like
how?
at points, like they were all talking through each other so much, like the hosts, and especially with the Duncan dynamic that he was there sitting in English, talking and then translating through him talking in English, and like it was so much to handle at once. But yeah, overall, I think they put quite some decent budget into the stagings of most songs, and it was a quite decent show, I think, song
Yes,
wise.
I felt bad for Duncan because he was always like,
Mm.
I'm the only one not understanding a flipping word of this. So everyone is
Yes.
talking about something, and I'm just like, hi. So I felt kind of bad for him that he was the only international jurist, at least one that didn't speak French. So that I felt kind of bad for him, but at the same time, you can make a case. Hey, maybe it's good to have an international taste within the juries as well, because some of his votes were a little different, and we're going to talk about that as well. So before we even discuss the songs, so let's 12 songs performed, and 5 didn't make the cut initially, and then 1 did, meaning 4 songs were eliminated. So the 4 songs that got the first cut were the opening song, Andriamad, Alléluia. Philippine didn't make it either with Ba No. No, I'm trying my French here. Terence James and Ali Paris Medi. So these 4 songs did not make the cut. LMK also didn't end up in the top 7 with the televoters, but got the ticket from the juries with her entry Magique. So Roy, looking at these 5 songs that didn't make the initial cut, surprises, expected outcome, what do you think?
I think there may have been like 1 or 2 surprises around. I feel like Banon was one of the more fan favorites before going into the live show. But seeing the live performance and I feel like a lot of the songs really improved and proved to me that they were better than I initially maybe thought. And Banon kind of stayed on the level or maybe was a little bit less than expected. And yeah, it is a bit weird that it didn't go through at all, but I also can see why that would happen.
Yeah.
That's like the one thing that springs to mind.
Yeah, and people point out Kelt, Raven, Kremis, it was 2 to 5th in the odds before and who didn't get into the top 8. So it's quite remarkable, and that is definitely a good point to make. I was kind of in the same boat. Like, when I listened to the songs, I did a reaction video initially. The songs were all mostly like, okay. You know, there was not much to stand out except for like 1 or 2. Then live, I was like, oh, a lot of these songs are actually better than I thought. I think a lot of the songs gained a lot of steam, according to my perspective, with the live performance. Some others faltered. Yeah. For instance, Alléluia, I kind of enjoyed actually because it stood out to the rest of the pack when I listened to it. But they were just, they crashed and burned live, like vocally, and just the whole choreography, the look, the outfits. I was like, this is not going to happen. This is a really bad start, right? Was I the only one feeling that way?
No, totally not. I literally was listening to the first song and their backing track was so much louder than them actually singing, and their vocals were not the best throughout either. And yeah, it was just a very kind of weak start. And I was like, is this going to be for every song that the backing track will be so much louder than them singing? Because that would not be the best. But luckily, things improved after that. Like, literally, the second song came on and the vocals were fantastic. So my doubts were immediately gone. But yeah, that definitely... Yeah, it was a bit unexpected, maybe.
It was disappointing because, I thought it would have been a fun little song, at least in the second round, because it's a different sound to it. But, I mean, it just... You got to perform. If you don't perform, you got to go. Yeah. In terms of Philippine, I was a little surprised. The song to me was kind of in the middle initially. Was like 5th. I didn't remember my exact ranking. I think put like in 5th or 6th place. Definitely for me a second round qualifier. Even though I was also a little underwhelmed with the live performance. It wasn't bad. I think you said it wasn't like it was horrible. It just kind of was just it didn't grow like some of the other entries maybe did. A good staging, and I think. Just for that reason, it just kind of disappeared a little. I still thought it was going to qualify. And then the other 2, Terence James, it's too repetitive in my view, so I just didn't see it happening.
Yeah, I agree.
And it was just not well done. And Ali was always one of the ones really down on my list anyway. So none of these surprised me. So out of the 8 that did qualify, was a big surprise to you at all?
I mean, in hindsight, it makes a lot of sense, but initially listening to the songs, I didn't think Maeva would make it from Amour. But it makes a lot of sense that it has a lot of fanfare and a lot of votes from people in Polynesia and whatnot. But it wasn't necessarily the strongest song to me initially. So maybe that was a bit of a surprise that qualified, but I can get why, because it would definitely be the televote favorite, and it was only televote first round.
My Eurovision TV makes a good point. It was nice of the French broadcaster to have an entry from Polynesia. I liked their song. It was my second favorite after Barbara. I thought it was very nice as well. They definitely got a nice televote boost, probably just because of that. And the thing is, I wasn't crazy about the song initially either, but after tonight, after they performed, it stuck in my head.
Definitely.
But yeah, you feel like you're on an island, as you would expect, like from that sound. So that's probably why they selected it. And it's not a small island. They have like, 275,000 people on French Polynesia. So it's like almost as many people as in Iceland, So it's not necessarily that unreasonable to have them represented. But yeah, so that was not as big surprise to me. I figured they would go through. The biggest surprise to a lot of people was 21 Juin, the duo. I think there were a lot of jaws that dropped on our forum on escunited.com/forum, little plug, as well as I saw in the chat in the live stream. People didn't see that coming. I thought it was simply just the melody was catchy, even though it was predictable and you can make a case cheap, that it would gather enough votes to squeeze through in the top 7. I had a feeling that this was happening, plus the running order going last is always a good thing.
Yeah, that definitely helped.
Yeah. So other than that, you saying the results were somewhat okay? I could see that happening.
Yeah, I think they were quite fair in general, and I mean, none of the ones that didn't make it through are like super robbed because they would have been able to challenge for the win, I think. So I think I also made the correct pick with LMK going to the next round. Because like if you look at the performance, in the beginning, if you ask me which of these 12 will struggle the most live, I would probably point her out because it's like super up-tempo and it's tough to keep up with that sometimes, and not everyone can pull it off. But she surprised me massively with her live performance. I did not expect it to be that good, and she got the credit for it, and that's good for her.
So then, as I said, those 4 songs were then eliminated. And then the remaining 8 songs were, again, up for a vote. The juries gave their votes first, followed by the televote. I think they had 10 more minutes to vote. And then they were slowly coming in. And let's go through from 8th to first place. And see how we feel about this. So the song that ultimately finished in 8th place in the grand final, whatever you want to call it, was 20 Juin Le Duo, receiving 18 points from the juries, which is 7th place, and then 20 points from the televote. So they were not last neither in the televote nor the juries, but then I guess it was second last in both, and that was enough to put them in last place. Does that sound about right to you?
Yeah, I mean, you pointed out prior today went through to the second round to begin with, and it shows that they were the last of the 7 to go through because 8 was LMK in the televote with the final 8, and yeah, it makes sense that they didn't necessarily went higher than last position, and I think it's right.
Yes.
Is that the correct word?
What?
Is that the correct word? Right.
Right. Yeah, I think so. Yeah. Then, I mean, I agree with everything what you said, so I don't have to rehash your opinions. I couldn't agree more. Then in 7th place was LMK Magique. That's the song, as pointed out, that did not qualify initially and was pushed through by the juries. It finished last in the televote, which does not come as a surprise to me, I think, and there's no offense to or critique towards LMK, but I don't know if they needed to have a jury qualifier, because we all knew that if you cannot even make it into the top 7 out of 12 in the first round of voting, there's a 0 chance that you're going to do anywhere near good in the televote in the second round. So it was clear that she wasn't going to go anywhere, and she did at least get a good amount of points, 66 from the juries and then 10 from the televoters. 7th place overall. I think, considering how the first round ended up, I think that sounds about right in my view.
Yeah, I mean, she won over the heart of Duncan Lawrence, and that is something she can take in her pocket. After she finished her performance, he compared her to future Ariana Grande or Selena Gomez, and that is a massive compliment for a young up-and-coming artist to receive those words from the Eurovision winner. That's amazing. And then also receiving the 12 points. So she can have a very good evening and be satisfied with what she put down. And 7th, it is what it is, but she shouldn't be disappointed with what she did, because she did well.
Yes, she did. And that's a good point, because Duncan Lawrence really saw a lot in her. Others as well, but especially he did. Maybe thinking back, maybe she would have been a better chance for Eurovision, because maybe there is more international appeal, but that's not how always national finals work. But we'll never know unless she's going to try again in a different year. In 6th place, we have Amui Maeva, and that was interesting, Roy, don't you think? Because the juries barely gave it any points, got 8, but then finished in 3rd place with the televoters. Granted, the people saying, mostly was the push from the locals. Then finished in 6th place overall. I think it's kind of sounds about right.
Yeah, I mean, it's mostly the televote, so the people spoke and they liked the song. And yeah, it's like sixth seems like a good position for them, I think.
Yeah.
Nothing to add, really.
I'm glad that they added that song, even though initially I was kind of like, I
Hmm.
can't get into this. I kind of enjoyed it live. I'm not going to lie, even though the choreography was a little stiff, but I did enjoy it because it's stuck in my head. I can't make it stop. But
Yeah.
it's, maybe not the best choice for Eurovision, but I'm thrilled that they added that to the lineup. And I'm hoping that France will continue to do that, to add that kind of sound to it, because it's just fair to be represented as well.
Yeah.
Then moving on to the top five, fifth place, not bad out of total 12 candidates. Chefaz, is that how you say his name?
C'est face, yes.
Chefaz. Finishing pretty mid-table in both the juries and the televote. A lot of people I've seen online on our forum as well said, that was actually quite a popular song initially, but then people are not as impressed with the staging. How do you feel?
Yeah, I feel like there was more left in the tank to do with the staging, and maybe his energy, I expected it to be a bit better as well on the stage. Like he was still very bubbly and very smiley all the time, but it could have been more, and it like kind of felt like they went for something, but there was more left in the tank to be done with the staging. Maybe a bit more color because now it was just red with a yellow suit, and it's a very
I
colorful, a
know.
colorful song. So
Is it?
maybe add more colors, that would be better. But yeah.
I feel bad because this is not what I should be doing, but I always got distracted by him because the way he was dressed. I'm like, you look like Jim Carrey's The Mask. Like, he has that
Ah.
outfit, and I feel like he's just gonna rip off a mask, and then I was just like, okay, this is very just. I could, especially the way the hat and the angle of it. It just always
Hmm.
like, okay, Jim Carrey. So the song was actually fine to me, but I feel as this is exactly where it would have ended up. Not too many surprises. Now, there's another. I'm not sure if you can call it surprise. I would love to hear everyone's opinion in the chat as well at ESC United, and that is Casanova and Tutti, because he only got 22 points from the juries, but finished in second place in the televote. Like,
Yeah.
runner up in the televote, overall fourth place. So there was a discrepancy. What do you think, Roy?
I mean,
Surprise?
it's always going to be more of a televote song rather than a jury song, I think, because it's very uplifting, it's very danceable, and people easily gravitate towards it. And besides the bum note in the end, I think it
I
was
know.
quite a good, quite a good performance. And it's
But
just
he
cool
went
to
for it,
have.
at least he tried.
Definitely, and he massively that will get memed a lot. I know for certain. But yeah, it's so cool to have more diversity in the sense that this was a song from Corsica and he sang in that language as well. So it can also be another one of those cases,
Yeah.
maybe just like with the Maeva, that like the Corsica people really voted for this song and that like his fandom really went for it. And to be honest, it's a very fun song, so it makes sense that it did well with the televote.
Yeah. I agree. As Stephen Candler is saying, do you think that the audience skewed very old, and that's why some of these results came in? I will say, keep in mind, not last year, but the year before, Bilal Hassani won like the televote by such a huge margin. So I don't
Yeah.
actually think it's skewed at all. If anything, it's the opposite way. I think there were just a lot of songs that just worked for all age groups, in my view. And I really enjoyed Tutti. Actually, it was fine for me in the studio version, but live it was like, oh, super radio friendly. I said it's
Yeah.
chart friendly. It's just kind of song that it's a pop song, but it was so pleasant to listen to. And again, we don't want to talk about that note. Don't, let's not. And I
But
feel
people will
bad
talk
because it
about it.
I know because people always love to talk about the worst part, but other than that, he sounded really good, and the song just felt good, and it was pleasant, and it's one of those songs that you just can't help but like. Now, question is, will this be a kind of song that would stand out enough at a contest? Like if this ended up winning, would that have been like somewhere at the top?
Yeah.
That I'm not sure. It probably would have been the greatest choice for Eurovision, but I enjoyed it anyway. And now we're moving on to the top three. Very interesting. Very interesting. And actually, Roy and I, before we went live, we had this dialogue, so we can kind of rehash that a little as well. Because Pony X finished in third place overall at the very beginning of the jury vote. It seemed as
Yeah.
they may run away with the win here. Barbara probably getting like 2 points and then a few points here, and they get 12 after 12 and then 10, and they just kept pushing away. And then they slowly started to drift off, and then, finished in third overall. Only, I think, in fifth place with the televoters, if I'm not mistaken.
I think
Um,
so, yeah.
so we had the conversation, Roy and I, because we had different opinions on that one. I felt as this would have been not the greatest choice for Eurovision, because
Mm.
I just felt it felt a little bit too. What's the best word? I think that is an international flair missing, and I'm saying I mean can be French, but I think that could have been a disconnect for the international crowds to get that one because we don't understand the words, and maybe this
Mm.
gimmick about having a pony and all of that stuff, it would get lost by us. That would have been my fear, and vocally it was at a bare minimum okay in my view. This
Yeah.
song. So I thought that this would have not been a good choice for Eurovision from a success perspective. Leave alone people's personal taste. That's a
Mhm.
different story. That may be, but I don't think it would have done well at Eurovision. And you were had a different opinion on that.
Yeah, before I heard everything, I thought that this song was the most ready to go to Eurovision. It sounded like the most desire there, but yeah, I don't know. I could have seen something in it, but it is a bit gimmicky as well, and I can definitely see all the other arguments about it. But I really enjoy the song still, and I will definitely keep on enjoying it.
Yeah. So then we had a top two, and we're going to talk about the second place real quick, and that was Juliette. The second song of the night also finished in second place overall, second with the juries, and then fourth with the juries. I'm sorry, no, let me start over. Second with the juries and fourth with the televote. And
Yeah.
even though it was only fourth with the televote, because of the way the points were being distributed, it was definitely enough to stay in second place, though certainly not to win because it was a landslide win. As far as Juliette's concerned, um, that I liked it the first time I listened to it, no doubt about it. I listened to it, oh, this is so pretty. It reminds me of Simone from a couple years ago, has most, but she has a lot more vocal oomph behind it. She went for the high and
Mhm.
low notes. It was very vocally, probably, arguably, one of the best, if not the best, vocal performance of the night. So I'm thrilled it did so well. The French ballads tend to be very successful now, at least in the national final. So I was very smitten by it. I thought she blew me away, and I said in our forum earlier, like, as much Barbara Pravi was the favorite to win, and I love that song to pieces. It's like if best case scenario wouldn't happen, I can go to sleep at night and say Juliette would be a great alternative to me, and I'm glad she did so well, and it must be hopefully very encouraging to her. So I say, job well done, Juliette. Job well done, France. Well, especially the Drees for putting that in second place. That is my opinion. What do you think, Roy?
Yeah, when I listened to it initially, it didn't necessarily catch my attention. Like, it was really good vocally, but usually at first listen, I more listen to instrumentally what's happening. And that's where it was kind of lacking a little bit. It was just building a bit too slowly instrumentally, while her voice is really good and really amazing. Like, after tonight, I think this was my favorite performance. Vocally, she was really good, and she captivated me from the start, and I never lost interest in listening to her and her song. And I can't speak French, but whatever she said, I believed what she was singing, and I really enjoyed it. And I think it's now, I guess, the favorite of the night for me after listening to everything. But yeah, it's good that it got second and deserved.
Yeah. But then let's talk about what we all want to talk about, the winner of the French national final, therefore going or performing, whether she's going to go to Rotterdam or going to do from the home studio, but she's going to be in Eurovision. Representing France is Barbara Pravi, and voila. And voila was in the polls the favorite. It had a lot of views and was quite successful already. And At first, it looked kind of like, the juries may not go for it as much as we thought they would, but then it kind of changed. I wonder if they did that deliberately. Like, okay, let's start with the bad votes first and work our way towards the good votes. And then she actually won it all, both the jury vote and the televote. So,
Yeah.
Roy, it seems as you like the song, you don't like the song. What's going on here? You've been very vague, to say the least.
I feel like there is something missing in the song for me to fully stand behind it and love it. I I love a ballad to like captivate me in the beginning, like I'm intrigued, then puts me through a journey throughout the song and that keeps me interested and it ends in a bang. But while I was watching the performance halfway through, I kind of was like, okay, I know you're singing Voilà a lot. Maybe move on a little bit or something more can happen. And um, I don't know, it just lost a bit of my interest halfway through. And I really hope I'm wrong, but I can see something happen that happened with Lisa Angel back in the day, where it also started off like, oh, what's going to happen? This is going to be really cool. And it ended up with an amazing moment. But in the middle, it was kind of like, okay, we just go there, I guess. But it will take quite a while before we're actually there. And I like the song, but I just want it to be even better, if that makes sense. I don't know. And yeah, it's really good, but it's just not enough for me to fully fall in love with it. And the staging was absolutely amazing, though. Like they got everything out of the staging that they could, but it just hasn't fully clicked with me yet, I guess.
Okay. Well, that's the beauty about music. There is no song that is universally liked. Uh, Point me at one song in Eurovision or outside Eurovision where everyone's like, yes. It's no such thing, so it is okay. And I knew that Voila is a very French ballad that either will work for people or it won't. And
Hmm.
I hear what you're saying. To me, it had the exact opposite effect. I
Mm.
thought I was intrigued from the very moment the staging, obviously. This is Eurovision ready, the camera work. It was so amazing. I was like, oh my God, it looks almost like a music video. She was in the moment. She was confident in her singing abilities and her interpretation of the song. I was always interested in the song from the very beginning to the very last note. I love the intriguing sounds of it's a quiet song, but it has these very like very soothing instrumental pieces of it. Some people call it a French chanson. I'm always like, I'm not quite sure if it's really a chanson per se, but it's definitely a very powerful French ballad. And I just was intrigued because I mean, when I do watch it, I get ready for stuff, and I'm doing three things at a different time. I have four monitors up right now, and I was like, it's so pretty. And I knew it was pretty, but it just really, I was mesmerized by it. She really drew me in for those 3 minutes. And to me, that is a very powerful thing, especially Jewish, because you
Hmm.
want to be remembered. And yes, will it work for everyone? Clearly not. The two of us are the prime example here. But I do think that this could have potentially um, a little bit more of a international appeal than a lot of people see it. But I would love to hear from the people in the chat at ESC United. Do you believe that this song has could do well at Eurovision, or is this really just the wrong crowd? What do you think, Roy? Besides your personal opinion of the song, do you think
Um,
Voila could do well at Eurovision?
yeah, I can still see it go either way. Like you need to think that casuals listen to a song and they only have a short attention span, and you have a final with 26 amazing songs that are all out there and will grab your attention a lot. Like it takes a lot to watch all the songs if you have never heard them before. And if I already someone who's super invested in Eurovision and really wants to pay attention to all the songs as much as I can, struggled a little bit with fully keeping that attention. I'm not fully sure if everybody that just isn't super much in the bubble would have the same that it like I'm not sure if they would all be super into it the entire time and in maybe a very strong field of songs. I'm not sure how good it would do. I hope it will do well because she would definitely deserve it. I think Barbara is absolutely amazing. But I just have my doubts and I hope she proves me wrong 100%. But yeah.
Yes. And Elio is saying it's old French music. I agree. Yeah, it's basically a mix of Barbara Aznavour, I don't know, and Piaf, Edith Piaf. It not. Voilà. Forgive me that the chat scrolls too fast. It annoys me because it's not original enough. Even when it's sad about her French, it just don't feel real to me. Okay, that's a fair opinion. If you feel that way, I felt it was very well written. The next, Louis says, I wasn't convinced by the song before the selection, but the camera work, lighting, and Barbara's belief in the song convinced me in the end. Excuse me, Olivia MacArthur saying, I really like the song, but it doesn't hold me captivated and amazed like Amar Pelos Dois of Portugal 2017. It's just missing that one spark that I hope they find somewhere down the line. And I see more people saying, so it seems, Julian saying the same could be said about Salvador Sobral. You know, because Salvador even had fans. A lot of people. He wasn't number one in the betting odds or in the fan polls for the longest time, and then it won Eurovision by a landslide. You could make the case here with Barbara as well, although it's always just since they're both like original powerful local ballads doesn't mean they're going to perform the same way, and people have different personalities and people will gravitate towards different music at a different point in time. So, and we don't know what's going to happen, but I can see the case that they're making. It could have a Portugal 2017 effect where a lot of people just go, well, like, what is this? And then it wins it all. Now, we have 3 songs. We have 3 songs.
Yeah.
So we still have 38 competitors that will put forward probably some really good work. But I am really, really stoked about that. One thing I wanted to point out also is, Roy, we talked about that briefly. It seems as they've changed the televote system. Because previously, I'm talking about a Destination Eurovision. It's kind of like what they also do in Melodifestivalen. You get the amount of points based on the amount of votes you receive. So if you receive 30% of the vote, you get 30% of the points that can be allocated.
Yeah.
So, and that didn't happen here because it was 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, and then an extra 10 points, so a jump of 20 points for the winner. We have a theory, right?
Yeah, it makes a lot of sense because I remember when Bilal was chosen that there was quite some backlash behind it because he got 50% of the total points able to be given out by the televote, and the juries literally had no say, like they weren't needed at all because the juries could not even give the maximum amount of points to any song that the televote had. And I mean, you can say that then the televote has more power, so that's cool, but it was just a bit much, I guess. So in a way, I just feel this was better because it's kind of more an even distribution of power, like a jury and the televote having the same amount of points approximately.
Yeah.
I think it was an improvement. I can definitely see the argument for the other side, but I personally thought that this was done a lot better than the previous time.
Yeah. I think they were trying to prevent any like over the top fan base voting. Because you get like a famous person there or someone not even famous but certainly famous in their own bubble, their own niche, like Bilal Hassani was. And there's nothing against him, he won fair and square. Those were the rules. But you can make a case like he didn't do that well with the juries, and a lot of fans were not super crazy about the song, but his fan base online they gathered and they were like, "Rrr!" And then they gave him all these points, and then he won actually by a healthy margin. And so I think that is what they were trying to avoid here, which I think it makes sense. Yes, you point out you can make a case like, hey, it should be given just fair and square, kind of how they do it at Melodifestivalen. But then again, Melodifestivalen, they have also other rules in place, like they have different age groups, brackets, and all of that stuff in there. So they did a lot of adjustments as well. So I can see why this makes sense. One question to you, Roy, that Zakrusta is asking. France is on top of the betting odds right now. So after this win, they shot to the top, even passing other countries like Lithuania. We don't have a song there yet, but people think they haven't. Are you surprised?
Well, it's really logical especially when it's just very much focused on that one show. It's just something. The betting odds are literally just people putting money on a song to win. So if a new song is coming out and people that are betting look around and see a lot of people liking the song, then of course they will put a lot of money on it. So it makes a lot of sense that there is a new song now and it gets shot up in the betting odds when it's like out there and a lot of people seem to love it. So it makes a lot of sense that it shot up to first place. I'm not sure if it will stay there. I mean, like you said, we have 38 other songs to go, and there's a lot more to discover and figure out. But it totally makes sense that it went to first place right now.
Yes. And Paul Nordahl said, betting odds follow hype. And that is absolutely correct. Because the people that put money down are often not like necessarily the biggest Eurovision fans. A lot of them are, some of them, but that's not necessarily the case. People just, okay, there's a lot of popularity behind that song. Let me put a few bucks down there, because people go really crazy. And that's why I'm trying to be very careful every time when we're in at Eurovision and we do the dress rehearsals and we talk about it. Betting odds people watch our live stream. They read our articles, and they often base their money on our observation because they cannot see it and we can, and people get pissed if we don't then they see the final product and it wasn't as good as we say it. Our first impression was, it's a different story. So it's my point is, it is often a hype, and sometimes it's more, sometimes less, but that's how often any kind of betting odds work in many different things. So it's not surprising, but it's nice for France to be on top of the betting odds for now. We'll see if they're going to stay, because there's still a lot to come. Can Lithuania catch up? And will Iceland once again be like, hey, we're still here. We were a hit last year. So a lot can happen, and some unexpected surprises as well. So any final questions about France in the chat at ESC United? KHTHS, do you bet on Eurovision? I don't. Do you ever bet?
I do some football betting some now and then, but
not Eurovision.
I don't do Eurovision betting. Yeah. No, that's a bit too difficult to put money on.
Sean has been doing that in the past, I believe. So I'm not sure if he's doing every year. So I'm curious, but no, I don't bet money. The thing is, I like my money, and I'm not a risk taker per se when it comes to that. I sometimes, because I live like 3.5 hours from Las Vegas. Yes, I go to the slot machine, put in $20, play the penny slots, so I can play for like 5 hours on the same $20 just to get the flashy, fun games going. But I don't like wasting money, and I am too scared to put anything down. So yeah, what did you think of the production of the show overall? Someone's asking, and you mentioned it earlier, Roy. You felt it was a little chaotic because people were talking over one another with the whole dialogue and the translation in Duncan Lawrence's case. To me, the production overall was fine. To me, and this is just a personal preference, I don't like when juries discuss the entry after the performed. I hate when they're trying to influence the voters' taste or opinion. Even if you don't consciously do it, they subconsciously do affect a lot of people. And let them just perform. Don't do this whole vote. Like, who liked the song? 6 of the jurors liked the song. I'm like, I don't like it. But that comes from a place of someone who hates all these X Factors and The Voice and idol shows with a burning passion. So I hate this concept, and France does it every single time. I'm like, stop it. Let the people decide. Don't influence them in your way, because then it's just going to be a big hot mess. That's at least my opinion. All right,
I 100% agree.
Yeah? Oh, really? Oh, okay, everyone, pause this. Roy and I agree on something.
Wow.
Someone has the alert button. Da, 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 da.
We should have a soundboard.
I know. I didn't have that ready. Anyway, let's move on real quick to some of the other shows. Again, we have the third song, super exciting. I know it's really late in Europe, so I don't want to waste your time, but we got another couple of shows. Norway was one of them. It was the third semifinal or third heat.
Yes.
And again, 2 duels, and I'm going to bring up just so as a reminder who was actually taking part in this. And here they are. We had 2 songs. Do you remember the name on top of your head? I'm bringing it up right now.
I always struggled the entire week with the.
That's okay. I have them up now.
Song.
I didn't have the thing because I forgot the names as well. But it was Dinaye with "Own Yourself" and Big Daddy Karsten "Smile." So they battled it out. And your thoughts on that duel, Roy?
I mean, I think Dinaye's song could only go as far as it went, I guess. It's just kind of the safest song of this batch of four. And so for her, it's an amazing performance, I thought. And it's going to be a good way to showcase herself to the world. And it was a good performance. But just overall, I think Smile just had was a bit more interesting. The staging was very bubbly and very, I guess, a bit more bold, and I fully get that Smile won over her. But it's a really good performance for her. She's very young and talented, and people will just notice her now. And who knows? It can give her a lot of opportunities, and that's lovely.
And I said it before, it's always my favorite line when I say Diva deserves a better song because she certainly can sing. And the
Yeah.
song was just a little bit more on the basic side, not bad. I think it's a
Mm,
solid song, but it's just not
definitely.
memorable and you need to stand out. And Smile, for better or worse, whatever your taste may be, did stand out. It was more melodically, maybe immediately accessible for a lot of people. Yes, you can make a case well they're like a little over the top the staging, but that comes down to personal taste. I'm just really upset because for the third week in a row, the third show in a row, my personal top two end up in the same duel. And it is so
Oh.
flippin' annoying. So next, when I do my next video, whoever on my top two will be in the same duel. Just so you know, it's now
Okay.
legal. So I
So
don't know.
let's bet on that then for the next time. Because we're talking
Exactly.
about betting. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, if there's such a thing. So, but I agree with everything you said. I think Smile to me was just a lot more uplifting. And yes, it is a little bit of a cliche song that you hear like in Schlager events and that has been done a gazillion times before. But it just out of that duo stood out to me more. And if I
Yeah.
had the chance to vote, I would have voted for Smile because it did make me smile a little. And I could see that Big Daddy Karsten, I can't even say the name without laughing.
Yeah, it's a name.
It's a name. Big Daddy Karsten. Like, sorry, I just call now one Big Daddy, so it's just I'm not used to that. Karsten, I was gonna call him Karsten for now. He was super nervous in the first moment because he was a little almost like intimidated. He could see that he did fine, like he performed and sounded well, but you can see he was a little bit more uptight. So
Yeah.
that I could tell. So he was super nervous, but I guess who wouldn't be? I guess.
Yeah.
And then the outcome, the results came in. Were you surprised?
No.
Karsten won with Smile. Are you
Oh,
surprised?
no, no, not at all. Like I fully expected it because it just stood out more. It just was more interesting, and the other song was perfectly fine. But yeah, I totally expected Carson to win that, and with the performance as well, it was very bubbly and very light and very bright and very votable, and people voted for it, so
Yes.
made perfect sense.
That I will say though, I was surprised. I didn't think that people. I thought some people saying, "Well, this is not a serious song. That he's just goofing around," and they will go with the more slick. Because Dinaye, you can say is a little bit more professionally done. Like I'm professional, but it seems a little bit more like jury friendly, and no jury's involved in the votes. I get that, but it
Yeah,
seemed to me a little bit more like okay, people will take it seriously. I was worried they're not going to take Smile seriously, but people just like what, we like it. We enjoyed it. It was
yeah,
catchy. We'll vote for it. They didn't overthink it, unlike me, who was like, oh, I don't know if they're going to think that they're over. People don't overanalyze it. They vote for a
yeah.
song that they like, that feels right at that moment in time. They don't sit down like the juries. So I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was still pleasantly
Mm.
surprised, at least in my yeah, so that is the first duel, and then they were done. We had the results, and we moved on to duel two, and that, in my opinion, was the stronger duel, and that was between
Hmm.
Emily, the Witchwoods, and Kaya Road, Feel. I'm sorry, not Kaya Road. I'm sorry, Ole Hartz, the Er Norge.
Yeah.
Those two songs were then battling it out. I did. Those who've watched my reaction video. Did you do a video as well, Roy, on your channel?
Yes,
Yes,
I did
so
as
I don't
well.
know your ranking either, but my initial rank, those were my top two, and I had Emmy
Hmm.
it at the top, even though I still cringe at the line "Welcome to the Hood." It's like
Yeah.
no, no, bad idea. But look past that, I just think it has just the even if you don't like the song, I'm talking about you, right? People in general, it is most
Mhm.
certainly the most memorable song and most different song we've had in a while, and it was a little bit more of a daring choice going with the Halloweeny spooky thing, and I will say it absolutely worked. I think
Yeah.
I still said, I'm a little sad that I went with the city, almost vampire goof stuff. I would have gone I wish I would have gone
100%.
all in with not witches, but certainly a little bit more that with a spooky forest. But
Yeah.
it works anyway. I get why they tried to be a little bit more not too literal with that.
Mhm.
But I think it worked well. I liked the little Game of Thrones moment there with the throne in the back, and then the lights came on, and the sound that made she did that screech at the end that some people apparently didn't think was good, but I liked that it added a little bit cool element to it. I think it just sounded and worked so well, and I was thrilled with the way it came together. I still complain about the fact that it's too short at the time that is needed. But other than that, I think this was such a well executed product and song. I was very impressed. But I will say, Ole Hart's song was also fun. Although I felt watching it, the singer was not matching the song. I feel like that was more of a. He's very young. He's almost like a boyish feel to him, and the song was a little bit more like grown up, but it's certainly a little bit more like bro dude song that felt almost odd when he performed it to me. It seemed not quite right for him at
Yeah.
this point. That was a little mismatch for me. But the song itself to me was fun as well, but I was definitely rooting for Emmy. What are your
Yeah.
thoughts?
Yeah, I think this one, my favorite at the studio version. It was super close for me. Like my top three was very close, and these were very close to each other as well. And Witch Boots is just such a wild concept, but they were like, we're not just gonna do it half-arsed, but we just gotta do it full out. And it is so gimmicky, and it is so weird and obnoxious, and so much is happening in the song its own, but it works just because it is so weird and so quirky and so unique. And so I nearly wish that they went also as far with the staging. I thought the staging was maybe a bit safe. The city was a bit like, I don't know, maybe make it a bit more witchy, a bit more horror or something, like you pointed out as well, a bit more haunted house, something like that. But yeah, overall, I thought it was a really good performance. And honestly, I didn't expect her live vocals to be that good because they were really good. And she did really well. And Ole, um, I was a little bit let down by the performance. It's really tough to like make it happen without a crowd because it's very
Mm-hmm.
much a crowd hyping song. And if you have an empty staging or an empty arena and you just have the six dancers there, it's really tough to really make it feel like a full song. And it felt a little bit empty on the night for me. So after seeing the performance, I would also definitely go for Witch Woods, and it won. So yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly so. You spoiled already. Everyone knows anyway. No, I agree with
Sorry.
you. And to add what you say, um, to Ole Hartz, I thought he was too sweet, almost too cute for the song. The
Mm,
song was not a sweet, cute song, and that's where I guess my biggest mismatch was. And then Emmy did win that round, and that would mean, as I pointed out, we went to the super duel that you just spoiled between Emmy and Big Daddy Karsten, and
yes.
ultimately Emmy won. I think both of us can say that was the expected outcome. Is that a fair thing to
Um,
say?
I thought it would be close because
Really?
I mean, not necessarily. I don't know what I really felt, but I do agree that this was the correct winner because, um, yeah, I don't know what I wanted to say really. I do agree. Yeah, it
Yeah.
was a good outcome. Yeah, I do.
I'm like, where are you going with this? I
Yeah,
thought that Carson. I will agree with you though, because Carson, after he won the first round, it seemed as he loosened up more. He seemed more
yeah,
confident and happy, and he enjoyed himself. I like the second round actually better than the first one. I
yeah.
still think that Emmy, she is just the It was just a clear winner, and I don't. I could be wrong, but I'd be surprised if this was a close vote. I just
Mm.
think Emmy's song. I will say this could be, and here a lot of people may disagree, but look out for that one. Everyone is saying Kaino is the clear winner. I don't feel quite as strongly about that yet. I think there are some great competition, and I think Emmy could give them a run for their money. But before we go into that, how did you feel about the promo song? So there's a few songs already pre-qualified. Today, Kaya Road performed Feel Again, so she doesn't have to go for the semi. She's already directly qualified. A lot of
Yeah.
people said, well, she is totally just mimicking Lorraine's Euphoria. I'm like, the sound doesn't sound the same just because of the
Mm.
outfit and the wind and the darkness and all that stuff. Um, How do you feel about this? This song deserve to be a direct qualifier?
I mean, I don't think they necessarily base it off of the song, but more of how seasoned or known the singers are. And I mean, it was a fine song, but is it the best? No, it was a bit empty, maybe. Like I thought vocally she was really strong, and like that needs compliments. But this is kind of what the opposite of Witchwoods is, because they were trying to go for something, but didn't go like dare to go the extra mile to make it stand out enough. And right now, it's more a one in a million song rather than a one off a million. Wait, all the way around.
Yeah.
You get what I mean?
Yeah, no, I get
it
what you
just
said.
doesn't stand out among a crowd enough, I think, to do well. But it was a fine performance.
People are a little bit too harsh on it. I thought she sounded great. The song feels a little, mid 2000 Melody Festivalen to me, but
Yeah.
that is not necessarily an insult. It's just it seems a little retro in some perspectives, but I think she sounded good and it has some really good high notes. I could see the jury's liking this one quite a bit, but I don't like the whole pre-qualified situation in Norway anyway, but so
Hmm.
I wish they all would have gone through it. So that's how I feel about it. I'm kind of like they're it's an okay song. I think that is basically what it is. People are saying though Marita is correcting you. Kaya Road is not known in Norway. She's not an established
Oh,
artist. So I think
okay.
what they go there is a jury or a panel that picks the song. It's not necessarily based on name, because then Riley could have made a case that didn't have to go through the semis twice, right? She did it last time. Shouldn't she just get her reward? So that was one of the points that they make because what's his name? Um, the guy who was taking part last year is returning. I forgot his name right now. Um, Ryan Alexander, that's his name. He got
Oh
a
yeah,
direct ticket as well.
true.
Last year he had to fight his way through to the finals.
Maybe what they did is so far it seems like in the semifinals a lot of the songs are a bit more risky, and they maybe went with songs that they know will be quality on stage or will be well performed or well sung or something like that, so that they have like a good overall final. I don't really know what the process
I
is, but
heard, and correct me, people that are from Norway or know the deets, let us know. But I was told by someone that all of the songs that are pre-qualified have to have Norwegian songwriters. So international songwriters
ah,
have to go through the semis. Doesn't mean that they're all international, but someone told me that they'll try to push local talent to give them that spot while the internationals have to fight through it. I have not been able to confirm that yet. So if anyone knows it for sure in the chat, feel free to share. So any questions in terms of MGP Norway at ESC United? Paul Nordahl is actually saying "Feel Again" is her debut song, so it's actually the
oh,
opposite. You couldn't have been
wow.
further off on that one, man.
I'm sorry.
That is her debut song, but she's a good singer. So yeah, that's definitely not the established status is not a necessarily the deciding factor. I think pre-qualified songs are asked by the broadcaster to compete, like in Shrek said. And you and the Gypsy says with do or can do you think Kaino has a competition with Riley? So Riley was the second heat winner
Yeah.
with Hero. What do you think? Is she a contender to
Well,
take on Kaino?
I don't even think Kaino is the favorite right now. Like, not at all. I think inside the bubble, we all think it because we all know the song. But I don't think at all it is the favorite to win. I think definitely Tix is the one to beat at the moment. And it is a very basic song, but the performance is absolutely amazing. It's doing really well in the charts in Norway. And that is the song to beat for me right now. Like, we still have songs to come and we don't know them yet. But yeah, I don't know. Kano is okay, but it's not as amazing as people make it out to be. It makes sense because you're familiar with them and you know that they will do well. But I don't know. And really, it's a good performance and a good song. Um, it could win. I can see it happen, but I'm not sure if it will. It's just there, like in a lot of national selections, we see these 80s synth pop kind of vibes coming through now,
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, I don't know.
I don't think she's a contender either, and that's not because I enjoyed the song was not wildly popular when it first came out, and then everyone loved the performance, right? The staging, and she was great. She has energy, and the staging looked amazing. The 80s retro thing, the whole thing was amazing. I just don't know if it'll be enough to win. I will also agree with you for the most part with what you said about Kaino, although I understand that they're the favorites to win in the betting odds as well, if I'm not mistaken. But
Well,
I do think that it may not be accurate for the same reason. I think Tix is the one that's really, really charting right now.
yeah.
But then also keep in mind there's jury. No, they don't have juries in MGP this year, do they?
I think the first round in the final or something like that has it. I'm not fully sure.
Yeah, I could see Tix absolutely winning. So I personally don't necessarily think that Kaino have it in the bag. I just understand. I think in terms of like betting odds that they are. But other than that, I agree with you on what you said. Any other?
Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of sense for it to be high in the betting odds because people know that it will work on Eurovision. Like they already got 6, 7, something like that in Eurovision. That's a massive performance. And if people see just the name Kaino, they're like, well, last time it worked. I'm not sure what to vote. Maybe I'll give my vote to them. So it makes a lot of sense that it's high in the betting odds.
Well,
But
people make the comparison because Alexander Rybak came back and he won, you know, I mean, kind of won the televote. Well, Alexander Rybak won in all. And that people saying his song wasn't that strong, and yet he still won by a lot when a lot of bubble people within the bubble said they were better efforts, better songs in the running. But because it's Alexander Rybak, he just had it in the bag. We'll never have evidence one way or the other, I guess. But I guess it's a valid comparison to make, I guess, that kind of could run into a similar situation. Although some may argue saying they don't necessarily have the same status yet as as Alexander has in Norway, because they're still fairly new. So, but I think Norwegians know that better than we do. Simon is asking, do you think that Blas and Mafia can be the dark horse to win like Pray for me last year in MGP? So for those who don't know this song, Blas Mafian, did I say that right? Blase Mafian, featuring
Blase
Hazel.
Mafian.
Yeah, whatever. They won the first heat, the first semifinal with Let Loose. Some people saying unexpectedly due to a fantastic staging. Do you think they are in it?
The staging was absolutely fantastic. I really enjoyed it. But I think overall the song is just not strong enough to be that. And I think Pray for You from last year, I think that song overall was really well produced and had a lot of, I don't know, it just had something about it. And
it was overlooked though. That's the point. Like people didn't necessarily see that as like a finalist.
Who knows? I really love the song. I would love to see them do well, but I'm not sure if it can win necessarily.
Yeah. We have to wait and see on that one. The good thing is now someone confirmed it in the chat. I was right. Oh, I love it when I'm right. I'm right. You're wrong. I'm right. But there are no juries this year in MGP, even in the final. So that could work because I was going to say Blase Mafian Let Loose could potentially suffer with a jury vote. However, since that's not a hurdle anymore, I could see it. I mean, look at people loved Sweet in the Sky a couple years ago, and no one thought it was win the televote, and then they went winning the televote. So things happen, and Pray was an example. No one saw that really going all the way to the final round. Granted, the first round of voting last year was a big hot mess. In case you remember, I guess the phone lines went down, so a backup jury had to pick the final 4 candidates in Norway last year based on the actual video, like music video that they put forward. And that kind of sucks because all the performances and vocal didn't matter in the end.
Yeah.
So that kind of
that was
sucked.
a bit unfortunate.
Yes. Yeah. So Marita's saying, we haven't heard the Tix's English song that he will sing if he goes to Eurovision. I wonder if he's going to perform in English. I know he said that he would perform the song in English at Eurovision, but is he going to perform it at MGP in English? That is a question.
No, he definitely won't do that, I think. But I'm not sure if it's fully set in stone that he will translate it. I don't know.
Yes.
There's still a lot to happen, and they can speak about it. And yeah, we can't really say much about that. Like, that's not really a reason why you shouldn't vote for the song necessarily, or especially for people who just watch casually.
Well, juries often, unfortunately, that's the one thing I don't like, tend to downgrade non-English songs because they think they're not going to do as well. You know, it's
Yeah.
not all the time, but especially in a lot of those national finals. Marita says something just to add. MGP's explanation to have direct qualifiers is to create a varied and exciting final show, diversity, and choose solid artists who we know can deliver live from a big stage.
Yeah.
What that means. So, yeah. So,
a lot of political words. Yes.
So, and then the last question before I move on, KHTH, what is your favorite semifinal winner so far out of the three?
I think mine would have to be Blows Mafia, and that live performance was really strong. It's close because Rayleigh was also really good, but I think Blows Mafia song was more my thing to begin with. So I would say them.
I will say that first of all, I think Norway is very strong this year. They're coming to win it. There's a lot of good music, and
Yeah.
it's like I want Norway to win so bad because they're so passionate, and I'm dreading a win because they're so expensive to go to. So can you please lower? Can you call your president or whatever it's called in your country and let them know, hey, everyone else in the rest of the world, we cannot afford Norway. But seriously, I think they have a great quality run so far. We haven't heard all of the songs yet. I like all three qualifiers, and if you watch my videos, in the first round, Blase Mafian was my second favorite initially, but I can totally see with the live performance why that one won.
Yeah.
Riley was my favorite last week. She won, no surprise. And then this week, Emmy was my favorite. She won, so I'm cool with that.
Wow.
If I had to pick one, I would say Emmy, only because it's just a little different. So
Sure.
I really enjoyed that, but that does not mean I don't like the others because they're all good. So if any of those three
Yeah.
pre-qualified, those three qualifiers ends up going, I'd be like, cool, I'll enjoy it. That would be not like where I would be cry over. All right, so let's move on because we got a few more things to cover, and we're going to not take much time on Lithuania because it's where we listened to all the songs. But basically, in Lithuania, we had a semifinal today. They only have one semifinal. We previously had two heats, and from each heat, 5 songs qualified for this semifinal. And then we had a lineup of 10 songs. And out of those 10 songs, 5 were chosen half by the jury, half by the televote, once again, to move on to the grand final. And we'll have those 5 entries along with another song perform. Because the Roop, who was said to represent Lithuania last year, when Eurovision got cancelled, gets a direct spot to the final. So we have those 5 qualifiers and the Roop battling it out next, and the winner will go to Eurovision. But to focus on tonight's show, Roy, what are your overall thoughts?
I don't know. It just kind of feels like they're building up towards the Roop winning, and like this semi-final is already so weird that it's taking place because the same songs will be in the final, but they just cut off a bit of weight. But they could have done the same thing in just a final. It's just a bit. Maybe they're just airing another show to gain a bit and help their eventual performance for Eurovision.
Mm-hmm.
And out of all of the songs, there's one that I could see contended a little bit, but then still it is. The Roop is just really good, and this song this year is really strong again. And yeah, I think it's just gonna be a big The Roop song. And tonight it was fine. It was a bit of a surprise that Gabrielius didn't qualify, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's not as entertaining as last year was.
Yeah, I said it before, and I know I sound like a broken record, but it really feels as there are 2 possibilities. A, the producers picked deliberately a weak lineup so that the Roop can win, or B, people just didn't try because they know they have no shot, you know. So I'm like, it's just disappointingly bad, and there were very few songs, and it's a thing like, yeah, there's some songs that are listenable, but I'm like, the bar seems to be low. Like, okay, you're not a completely bad song, therefore you're good. So let's start with the juries first. In third, out of those results, Roy, any major shockers?
No, I think Where Do You Want to Go is the best song besides The Roop. That's the Gebrasy song. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think there were many surprises from the jury, especially. I think this is basically how I would have ranked it as well if I were a jury, something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe Gabrielius one spot higher or lower, but I can definitely see why this decision was made, I guess.
Yeah. No, that makes sense. And then let's take a look at the televote. Guess what? Same leading song. Gebrasy went both the televote and the
Yeah,
jury. So a clear in terms of, the winner at least. And
yeah, I know.
it's kind of confusing. The results are also the way they present. It's like, here's the scoreboard, enjoy. I'm like, can you
Yeah.
make it a little bit more exciting? Uh, it's just kind of weird. But Gebrasy wins. The top five will go through to the finals. Gebrasy, Martyna, Evita Cololo, Voldemars, Petersons, and Titas Benas. And as we
Yes.
pointed out earlier, a lot of people liked Gabrielius' song. He is out. He only finished in
Mhm.
seventh place, especially the televoters were not into it as much, giving it only 4 points. Therefore, seventh place. Looking at this ranking, Roy, any major shocks to you? I mean, we can make the point about Gabrielos, but it's personally out of
Mm.
the song I can say that were in the running tonight. It was probably my favorite, and so I was a
Ah.
little disappointed. But what do you think?
No, I think definitely the best song is Gebrassy's song because it's not the most unique out there, but it's just a very decent ballad, and it would get maybe a decent result at Eurovision. So if the Rube would have failed, it's a decent option. We still don't know how the Rube may sound live, but um, I don't know. Gabrieli's song is maybe just more the name than the song because this was a little less sophisticated than his last effort was, and that also didn't make the final. So I can totally get it, and it's just we're all just waiting for the final to see the Roop actually perform it and to see Gebrasy maybe do decent against it. We don't know, but yeah, I'm satisfied. It's okay for me.
I can only speak for myself, but I didn't know Gabrielos before. I didn't watch it last year,
Ah,
so it was purely based on the song's own merits. It to me was the most pleasant melody. At the same time, it was also outdated, and I didn't love it. But it was nevertheless a respectable effort at least. So these five songs are through, and we'll now join the Roop in the lineup with the song "Discotheque," and we already hinted at it. The Roop are favorites to win. Do you think that can be stopped at this point, or are we all again in the Eurovision bubble, not seeing the big picture? What do you think?
um, I think they're the massive favorites, and I want to comment on a few people commenting in the chat. Yes, it was performed live, but I don't think the vocals were live, so I'm still unsure how he would sound with all the dancing going on because it was like super slick when you listen to it the first time, and it is still a little bit of doubt, but I think he can definitely pull it off. We've seen it last year happen with On Fire. He did really well, and he did a lot of moves. There are more moves now, but we'll see. And I definitely think it is the best song. And a lot of Lithuanians will probably be like, well, he deserved it last, or they deserved it last year. Let's give them another ticket again this year. And deserved, in my opinion. They improved on the song maybe for a lot of people. Yeah, I think the Roop is the massive favorite.
Yeah, I think they are the favorites also for a reason. I said it before and I thought it was controversial, but apparently I'm not the only one feeling that way, but I actually prefer Discotheque over On Fire and I love them both.
Mhm.
But I just love the very fun choreography here and it just stands out and
Yeah.
the loud and the quiet parts and the it's just there's so many cool moments there, and I have no doubt in my mind that he will perform it well.
Mm.
So I believe, but I if they don't win, you will see my jaw drop and everything else drop because I just don't see how this could not win. I still feel they just put this together because I kind of had to, and
Yeah.
but we have seen crazier things happening in Eurovision. So don't sing until the fat lady sings is what I was trying to say. So or all your chicken has been hatched, whatever metaphor you want to use, expression.
Mhm.
So but yeah, I petition that is left. But then again, that is I just could you see any of the other songs besides The Roop, Roy? And be honest, you can disagree with me. I'll just yell at you later. But do you think that if the Roop doesn't win, is there actually a song that could potentially give Lithuania a ticket to the finals?
Yeah, I think the Gebrasy song is definitely capable of it. It's just not the most unique or interesting, but it's a fine ballad, and I thought his voice was really good. We got to keep in mind that in Lithuania, it's not necessarily the best sound and not necessarily the best camera work. And if you put it on a Eurovision stage, I could definitely see it qualify. Was it in the second semifinal or the first?
They are in the first half of the first semi, I believe.
Yeah. Okay. Then it may be a little bit more difficult. But then again, we still don't know the other competition, what they will do this year. But like last year, the first semifinal was so strong. So maybe in that regards not. But I think it's a decent ballad. It's just not super interesting or unique. But it's decent.
I think the problem with me is, and I'm asking your honest opinion because I don't want to answer it, because I listened to the song twice now, and I still don't remember it. I'm like,
yeah, that makes sense.
I'm like, I know it was on twice. Why am I not remembering it? And that's usually not a good sign in Eurovision, so I don't want to be like, it's never going to qualify. But I'm like, I just don't remember it. And that maybe it's not the best sign, actually, for that. So, I hoping for the best. For the Lithuania, according to my personal taste, of course. We'll find out probably next week, right? On the outcome. Now, let's talk, before we've spent way too much time already, let's burn through some of the news of the week. Roy, why don't you go first? What do we have?
I mean, a lot of people decided to announce when they will release the song. I mean, we just gotta wait until they get released, really. But we have some news from Spain that's kind of interesting because out of nowhere they kind of decide. I mean, I don't know. They probably had it in the works for a while, but we didn't know yet that they will have sort of a national final to select. What's his name?
Blas Canto.
Blas Canto, exactly. To decide his song, they will have another Eurovision gala like they did with the OT when they had it, I guess. And yeah, I'm interested to see what they'll do with it. If they like give him 3, or I don't know how many songs it will be.
2.
I don't think they specified. 2. Oh, okay. Maybe they'll either have him have an up-tempo song and a ballad or something like that, and then let them decide what they want more. But yeah, it'll be cool, and it will be interesting to see.
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying there. What I'm hearing is that these 2 songs supposed to be very, very different. So that is at least a good sign that they're not going to go with the same sound. So, and then it's just the Spanish public, and I think no juries will decide the song, which is nice as well. So that is to me a good thing. I'm always in favor of national finals, even if it's as tiny as it is in Spain this time around. But at least they get to pick a song. So get ready, my friends, for another probably short national final. But the more, the merrier. What else do we have?
Wait. Let me think again. What was it? Excuse me for a moment. Release dates and. We do know that Belarus is maybe having a little bit of issues in their country. It's a bit turbulent, to say the least. There have been protests with the government. They, like the artists from last year, Val, were at protests, and therefore they're like kind of not selected again to represent their country.
Yeah.
And it's really unfortunate what's happening there. But then also there was a statement from the EBU saying that they were looking at their like cooperation. How do you call it? That they like within the EBU bubble. They may want to.
The commission? Oh no, what are we talking about?
No, like they may want to say no to Belarus because of everything what's happening. So like we don't know if they even will 100% go to Eurovision yet, and it's just a lot that will happen, and we have to wait and see what will happen. But there have been some songs that came out. Des Sampson is one of the guys in there again for some reason. Yeah, it's just a lot of things happening there, and we'll have to see what's gonna happen.
Yeah, so one of the stories, to also give a little bit more context, is that there is this discussion of whether or not the broadcaster should be removed from the EBU based on what has happened. That's the word I was looking for. So, I'm sorry, what?
That's the word I was looking for.
What word?
That they were going to get removed from like the EBU.
Oh, the broadcaster, gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that is all happening. So that would be very unfortunate, but we're not trying to get too much into the political situation
Yeah.
in Belarus here. But sometimes you cannot just ignore what's going on, and that is definitely something that you need to take into consideration. And yeah, so what happened with Val, because they were very vocal about their support for the opposition in the election, and
Hmm.
the broadcast that went after them big time with insults. It
Hmm.
seemed quite immature in my view. So yes, the unrest still continues. There are people picking sides, and we have to wait and see what's happening. There's a campaign, actually, a full campaign to remove BTRC from the European Broadcasting Union due to its involvement in the political situation. So it's not just like
Yeah.
they're actually actively involved, and that is very important that the country is facing. And the national final veteran Napoli, she's in every single national final, said, "I'm not going to
Yeah.
take part this year."
That
7 years
that's
in a
something
row,
big.
she appeared, and like, I'm out. This is great. But as he pointed out, Des Samson, who represented UK in 2006 and has been trying to
Yay.
go back to Eurovision, is trying again his luck. Song "Give Me," song "Give You Love." That's what the song is called.
Hmm.
So we have to wait. What's going to happen there? The EBU may or may not make a statement, but it's a little hairy, I guess, to say the least.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what else?
Well, we had sort of a national final in a way happen as well this week. Israel also chose their song,
Yes.
and they had three songs left in the order after they had, I think, 12 songs in the beginning, and then like the public could vote for the best two songs, and a jury also chose one. And then in the end, they made the real versions with Er Norge, and they weren't performed, but they were like counting up all the votes. And in the end, we have another Eurovision song, and it will be "Set Me Free."
Yes, Set Me Free won the national final in Israel. And interestingly enough, it actually won by, according to the results, by over 70% of the
Yeah,
votes. That is a lot. Like three
that's
songs, and you get
massive.
like 71.3%, I believe. That
Mm.
is a huge number. And I haven't had a chance to really talk about that in more detail since the national final closed on Monday. Um, it was not the one that people expected to win. There was this battle between the La La Love and the Ooh La La fans. And then
Hmm.
Set Me Free comes through unexpected, apparently, in a landslide. So, were you surprised?
I was definitely surprised that it was such a landslide. I thought it would be a close battle because you hear a lot of sounds from a lot of people, and I guess it can make sense that a heated battle within maybe more the Eurovision bubble, that ooh la la and la la love, and then the third song goes with it and becomes the actual song. And maybe they did make the right choice, and I think she will definitely pull it off well live. And I'm just a bit wondering if they already looked a little bit at the results, or maybe saw it in the first round of voting already, that Set Me Free would do so well, because they at first would do like live performances, and now they didn't in the end. So maybe they were like, well, it's going to win anyways, let's not waste money on it, and then like not have her perform live. I don't know, it's just speculation, but I could definitely see that being the case. It was shocking that it was such a massive amount, really. And yeah.
Yeah, it is. It is. I was very surprised to see that win. Of course, there's some fans who are very excited because each of the song had its own fans. It just seems like "Set Me Free" had the lowest number of international fans. From what I was not crazy about the song. Like when we initially listened to the demos, I think there were 9 demos. I put like in seventh place or something like that. And then since that was my third place, so I'm not thrilled with the song. It's not a bad song though, and when you have a good singer like Dinaye, you elevate it, you bring it up. So
Yeah.
that is how I feel about the song. Will it be probably my top 10? Right now, it is because we have 3 songs. But I don't think it's going to be at the top of my list. But I don't actively dislike it. I just think that Israel had better chances, and it was always that's the thing. I want everyone to return that couldn't take part last year. Um, but at the same time, I feel bad because we're humans and we tend to compare it to the last year's effort. And then you think, oh,
Yeah.
we had fake alibi, and now we have set me free. And it's like, what could have been? What could have been? But as I said, some people are very happy, I'm sure. And that's just how the cookie crumbles. I've given up on, like, I no longer get like upset too much when my favorite song doesn't win, because why bother? I've been doing this disappointed for too many times. I'm just going to run through these real quick. We don't have to do this in detail. Elena from Cyprus, she posted on Instagram that she will release her song on the 24th next month. So February the 24th is when her song will drop. So have your timers on Alexa or whatever ready, and make sure I activated her. Alexa, stop. And yeah, so that's another song to look forward to. Australia, Montaigne, she's also was internally selected. Again, thankfully, she has picked her song and will be released in March. So that's still a little bit further out. So she's going to wait probably until close to the end of the deadline. But at least we know it's going to happen. Same for Dadir from Iceland, who was chosen internally, who had this big hit, Think About Things. He will also actually release the song in February. March, sorry. So there is that, and I'm just going to rush them because we're out of time. Any final questions at ESC United? Anything Eurovision related? Shoot them out. So it can be about France, can be about Lithuania, can be about Norway, can be about Canada. I don't care. Just shoot them out. To us. Stephen Kendall is also saying they canceled the live performance because of the third lockdown that they have in Israel.
That makes way more sense. Like, I'm just, yeah.
Yeah. And one of the topics we didn't get to today, because we're running out of time, is Italy also has this big issue with the lockdown where the government and the broadcaster are like really fighting, because the government's saying you cannot have an audience, and they're like, the hell we will. And so they're fighting, and the producer of the show in Sanremo is threatening to quit over this. So people thinking, what is the future of Sanremo in 2021? They already pushed it back to March. What's going to happen? So there's a lot of battling and fighting going on there as well.
Yeah.
Collins Omosefe is asking, do you think Armenia will withdraw? Do you think that they will withdraw?
I don't know. I don't know enough about the situation really to give a good educated answer on that. I know that there is a lot happening in the country, and yeah, I don't know. I just can't say enough about it. I've just
That's okay. Been you can say I don't know.
As connected with that. Really.
That I don't know is a good answer. And yeah. I actually kind of agree with you. I mean, I know a little bit what's going on, but I don't know either. It is, they made it. I don't think they will. My gut feeling tells me they won't. Because I don't want that to kind of build up.
I mean, they're usually kind of silent, so it's nothing new, really.
Will Sasuri is asking, what do you think about the Canadian Eurovision song? Yes, I know. I love it. It is so good. What do you expect from Samantha Tina's song? Just in case songs out in February or March, someone's asking. Do you have any expectations?
Yeah. Well, it was rumored or said to be released this month, but like literally tomorrow is last day of the month, so I don't think we're gonna get it, but maybe we will. I don't know. We will have to see what they do, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. We have. I'm kind of with him, but what's the question I had? My brain went blank. What was the initial question?
About Samantha Tina.
Oh, Samantha Tina. Yes, I'm like, who? Because I was reading the next question. My brain was already gone. It was like, my brain's already on that. Samantha Tina, I don't care what she sends. I'm just glad she's in the running. She's tried for so many years to represent Latvia. It finally happened. Then it got canceled. So when they told her, you're going, and the recorder was so cool. I'm so happy for you. I hope she's going to have a good song. Her song last year was a little crazy, to say the least. I was a little like, woo! But I did appreciate it to a certain extent. I was always like, do I love it or do I hate it? I'll tell you tomorrow. I'm still in that place, by the way. I haven't still decided yet. So, yeah, that's very interesting. Do you think that this year will be very tough because of the big names and the incoming songs in the next weeks? I can't see a clear favorite after all 41, except with Euphoria 2.0 will come. Well, on Euphoria 2.0, yes, it won and it was the clear favorite, but keep in mind, people keep forgetting that Euphoria only barely won the televote by like 12
Yeah.
points. It was actually really close if it would have been up to the televoters. It was the juries that just decided. Woo! So even Euphoria could have lost if it wasn't for the juries. If the juries would have put Euphoria in second place, it wouldn't have won. It was that super tight. But to answer your question, I said before, I want them all to return, but of course then they have to live up to last year's expectations, and that is always the tricky part. So I think it could be actually the opposite, that it's very difficult to recreate the magic for some. The Roop can say, you know, they come up with something very unique and very popular. Whether Iceland can do it again, if Russia sends Little Big again, can they do it? There are so many other acts that were returning that, you know, can they do the same thing what they did last year or improve? It's tough. It's tough when you already had the song and you come. To be fair, though, 99.9% of the people don't know their songs from last year, so it won't affect it. But, you know, they were chosen many times. Some were chosen internally, but a lot of them were chosen in a national final, like Montaigne, or in Czech Republic. You know, even Iceland, they were chosen through a national final. Now they're being given a ticket. Here, you go and you pick a song, basically. That's
a lot of stress
and pressure.
And a lot of pressure. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. I mean, it's not easy to recreate the magic, and people in the bubble and people in Eurovision will compare to last year, and that can really hinder you or improve what you did last year. And it can work, but it can also definitely fall the other way, and it's really tough to really say what will happen. And I hope it will be a strong year, that it will be a fingernail biter until the end, and we're like, oh, who's gonna win? We don't know, and that would be amazing. That would be the best, and so competitive with a lot of good songs. I want good music. I want everything.
I want a close call. I love close races. That's all I care about, right? Matt, do you think that the quality of songs in Melodifestivalen will be higher than previous years, taking consideration of the names? It's hard for me to say, considering the nation names. It comes down also to personal taste. I don't know. I mean, the names were there. But to me, it comes down to, will Melodifestivalen, this will be also Christian Björkman's last Melodifestivalen, will they have the same sound, or do they have a little bit more diversity? Because Melodifestivalen kind of sticks to the similar sound that they send. Even when they send like more rock music, it's still with either Schlager inspired or pop, and there's not a whole lot of like, woo, we send something completely crazy here. It's still good music. Good music. I'm not saying that good music, but as far as like, you know, I hope for more diversity than what I've seen in previous years. Good music is up for debate. I feel as the last couple of years have been better with Melodifestivalen. And for a few years, I was like, I'm bored with the songs. But the last 2 years were pretty good. So I think it's going to be on the same level, hopefully. A lot of the times, Melodifestivalens are growers for me. So I think it's going to happen this year as well. What do you think about Melodifestivalen?
Yeah, I was really disappointed with last year. I think mainly because compared to the year before, a lot of the songs were more safe and the stagings weren't as elaborate. And I really hope they can step it up again. I mean, we already know that there will be like a hard rock band, I think, and they're a cool, interesting act, and I'm really curious to see what they'll bring. Also, some returning veterans that definitely have developed this style throughout the years, and we'll have to wait. We really have to wait. But I really hope it will be better than last year, because it was one of my biggest disappointments last year. I'm not gonna lie.
That's fair. That's fair. I liked a good amount of songs. I know your favorite was probably my second favorite, actually.
That's new.
Yes. I'll never give up on Anna Bergendahl, though. So, but yeah, I like that one. So, but yeah, we'll have to wait and see. That's usually a very vague answer, but I just never know with Melodifestivalen. It's like hit or miss. What I can predict right now is they're going to do well at Eurovision. So I think they're going to be just fine. Let's a couple more questions. Green Oscar's asking, will fans vote for a bop this year rather than a ballad due to the past 12 months we've had want something more uplifting? Do you think they're going to go for a bop than a ballad?
Genuinely no idea. Like, that can go either way. Either people want some relief, like it could even be with a rock song or a metal song or whatever, just to have relief, but it could also be very much relating to lyrics and very much something emotional, because we all feel it. It can go either way, really, and it just really depends on the song. I don't think the current situation necessarily influences it super much. Maybe it would be more interesting to see in terms of qualification that maybe a bit more uplifting songs could sneak through because people are more inclined to vote for it, but I don't think the effect will be that big.
Exactly. I would agree with you. Now, I always use it also in American politics. Again, not to go into details, people are saying, do you think people are okay if they're going to pass some relief money to us if they do it for budget reconciliation? Wouldn't the people prefer it for an actual vote, or would they rather do that? And like, people don't care. They just want money, right? They just send them
Yeah.
something, and how you get it done, just get it done. And it's a similar thing with Eurovision. That sense, like, people don't care what happened last year, whether
Yeah.
a fast song won, a ballad or rock song. They just sit down like, I don't care, just what you got. Give me a good song. Just give me what you got. Give me a good song, and I'll vote for it. So whether they're going to connect with the ballad or with an upbeat song, I don't think whatever happened last year or in the national finals will have a significant impact on it. I can speak for myself. I over the few years, more often than not, I've been always very much into my mid-tempo or slower songs have ended up being my number one randomly, but I am in the mood for really like bops and upbeat music. But that could be whether or not it's just the current climate that we're in, or I'm just in the upbeat kind of music. That is just me, and I don't think that translates to others. You know, that we all
Yeah.
have different stages that we're in. Some people maybe are sad that want to have sad music, so I
Yeah,
think we're
like
overthinking it.
everybody expresses their feelings and emotions in different ways in music. Like for me, metal music can work calming, and if I tell that to people, they'll be like, "What? That's weird." And just you have emotional connections to so many different types of songs, and everybody's different in that, and it can go literally any way. So I don't think it would be that much of an influence what happened the past year.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. So, but that's all the time we have for today. Thank you for watching. I know it's super late in Europe. I still have got my evening ahead of me. Everybody, go to bed. Thank you for watching. Thank you, Roy, for joining me today, and
Always a
congratulations
pleasure.
again for to Barbara and her song. I said Viola. Voila, Viola.
Viola.
Voila. Happy to have you at Eurovision, and hopefully we can all see each other in Rotterdam. We don't have an answer yet. I think we will get like in 2 to 3 weeks. We should have a final answer from the EBU on what's going to happen. So stay tuned for that. We're moving on with our lives because we've got stuff to do. So I will talk.